Ugh, I feel like crap.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. It's been the first day of E3, and the first thing that's up for business actually, well, the first thing that's up is my clothing. Obviously I'm wearing the same shirt that I came to in the last episode, and no, it's not the fact that I don't shower. It's still the same day, so unfortunately, to break that illusion for you guys, I'm still talking on the first day of E3, but that's alright. Why don't we get on to the Microsoft press conference. So going into Microsoft press conference, having an Xbox and having played a bunch of games on the Xbox 360, I thought it was going to be about games.
Wrong. Wrong.
Maybe without the awkward Connect plugs.
Wrong. Wrong.
And wasn't going to be about some stupid user interface the whole time.
Wrong. Wrong.
Unfortunately, obviously I was wrong. And I was wrong, and I was wrong, and I was wrong. But that's okay. I mean, I think there's some good things and there's some bad things that come out of this. Why don't we take a look over here and we'll see some of the things that really stuck out. First and foremost, I mean, obviously it opened up with Halo 4, and it looked good. I mean, it looked really good. That was actual gameplay that was going on in the background. I'm not sure. They didn't really make it a point to tell you that. Obviously you were going in through the cutscene at first, but then they were showing you actual gameplay. And it looked pretty smooth. I mean, it's Halo, and I don't think Halo's ever really done wrong, and I don't think this game's going to do wrong either. Definitely some new weaponry that looked interesting, obviously a whole new band of enemies, and we'll get more details of that as it kind of develops. Additionally, then they went on to, I think Madden was the next big thing, and typically I don't pay attention to these that much, just because unless something really revolutionary happens, I really don't pay too much attention because they come out every year. It's kind of same old, better graphics, better controls, whatnot. But this year, there's actually a number of different things. But just regarding Microsoft, they have something called Xbox Smart Glass, and basically it's an interconnectivity between smartphones, tablets, TVs, and your Xbox 360, which, if you guys didn't guess, was kind of the theme of this whole conference. But to get us back on track with regards to Madden and how Xbox Smart Glass relates to that, you can actually drop your own plays and obviously you can issue voice commands, but that's more of a Connect thing. And how many Connect plugs have we really seen over the last few years? In my opinion, too many. But yeah, more specifically, if you use like a tablet or a smartphone, you can take this and you can kind of draw up your own plays either on the fly or just kind of make your own. I would assume make your own clipboard of plays where you can kind of design your own plays. And that's something that I actually think is really interesting, and it's one of the most impressive things that I've seen regarding this technology and kind of how it can be used. Other than that, though, the interconnectivity, it's nice. It's definitely nice, and it's not terrible. And I don't want to be somebody who says, like, all these things are bad. They're not bad. But, here's the deal. We're at E3. This is a game conference. And while you should be talking about, your UI and how you're making it better and how everything's becoming connected, because that's all great, and it's not something that I don't think we shouldn't have. I just don't think it should be the center of a games conference, and that was really the problem with Smart Glass. And luckily, after Smart Glass came out, something that I really enjoyed was that Trey and Matt from South Park came out, and they actually kind of poked fun at at this whole thing and how ridiculous it is. And I'm actually going to go ahead and show you guys the clip real quick so you can see it.
I'd like to be able to watch this on my television while hooked into my mobile device, which is being controlled by my tablet device, which is hooked into my oven, all while sitting in the refrigerator.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I think that was a little bit over the top, but that's kind of Trey and Matt's style. But it was pretty poignant. I mean, I think at least over half of the conference was dedicated talking about the utility of Microsoft Xbox and not the software, which in my opinion, when it comes to an E3 conference, is a pretty big deal. I mean, they also, besides talking about Xbox Smart Glass, they also mentioned Internet Explorer from Microsoft, for Xbox, which, I mean, I think that's pretty neat. I mean, obviously a lot of people don't have laptops, and a lot of people, don't have the luxury of having a computer near their gaming system. And while, obviously there's utility and need for this, they acted like it was something that we were all, like, continuously asking for, and that's not the case. Don't patronize us and tell us you've all been asking for this, you've all been waiting for this. No, we haven't. I mean, it's nice, it's a nice feature, but there's no way I've been writing you letters or petitioning for this, and I don't think that a large majority of the fans have been. And again, shouldn't be the centerfold of your conference. It really shouldn't be the centerpiece. So getting back on track to games, talking about the South Park game, The Stick of Truth. This is an RPG. And I gotta admit, I'm a huge fan of South Park. I love it. I love the humor. I think they're hilarious. And, you know, they're bringing that into the game. That's one thing that's obviously very evident. We didn't get to see a whole lot tonight. We didn't get to see a whole lot from them. Or today, I should say. Or yesterday is what I really should say. But we didn't get to see a whole lot. But from the limited clips that they did show, and just from hearing them talk about it, you know, they're taking this very serious. Even though they're poking fun at themselves, saying we have no idea what we're doing, and our world's so crappy. You know, they're taking a lot of serious thought. Like, one of the things that they talked about was, you know, really getting a solid understanding of their world and kind of where everything would be positioned in relation to itself. I mean, just the fact that they're even talking about it like in that kind of depth makes me think that they're taking this project very serious, and it's not going to be similar to any of the South Park games that you've seen before. Because if you've seen South Park games prior to this, they haven't been to the higher standard. But I think this is definitely going to set the bar up pretty high, and it should be something that you should be looking out for if you're an RPG fan or a South Park fan alike. So moving on, what was really interesting, one of the things that caught my eye and I think caught a lot of people's eyes was Gears of War Judgment. It was a really, really small, quick trailer. It's actually, the game's actually revolving around Baird, one of the characters from the original Gears of War series, and I believe this is going to be a prequel. It looks really interesting. They didn't show a whole lot again, but from what I did see, it was gearing up to be a good game. Yeah, if you catch my drift. Another thing that I absolutely loved tonight, or today or yesterday, I gotta get used to saying that, but another thing that really caught my eye was the Tomb Raider demo. Looks absolutely beautiful. I have not been excited for a game like this, for a remake like this in a very long time. It's the more that I see this game, honestly, the more it's starting to remind me of Uncharted, just the way that it feels very cinematic, and a lot of the gunplay feels very similar too. And if you've seen or heard me talk about Uncharted, you know I hold that game in pretty high regards, as a lot of people do. So saying that it kind of reminds me of that, I think, is a pretty big compliment. There were definitely some differences, though. One of the things I noticed is Lara was actually earning experience through the demo, so it looks like that's going to be worked into the game somehow. And also, they were talking about the items that she uses, and you know, the bow was kind of what was demonstrated in the demo, and there were different variations. She was shooting regular bolts, she was shooting fire bolts, or fire arrows, I should say arrows, because it wasn't a crossbow. And, you know, it seems like there's going to be a lot of mixing and customization when it comes to that. More like a survival horror game than, I guess, what you would be used to with Uncharted. So that looks pretty interesting, and it's definitely going to be something I have my eye out for in the future. And while Tomb Raider was great, and it was honestly a great game, and I'm looking forward to it, it's not a Microsoft exclusive, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with this conference, was they didn't bring a whole lot of new, interesting, exclusive games to this console to make people be excited that, you know, they have an Xbox and not a PS3. You know, for instance, they did bring a few games. I mean, I shouldn't say they didn't bring anything. They brought Ascend New Gods, and this game, you know, showed some really gory battles. It looks like it's going to be some kind of an action game. Honestly, though, it was again, you know, very quick, not a whole lot of detail. But from what you did see, it looked like it was going to be some kind of action game that really doesn't spare on the gore. But again, it had to follow Tomb Raider, and in my opinion, that kind of hurt that title because it just did not hold up graphically when compared to that. I mean, it came right afterwards, and you could just notice the glaring differences between those games. Next was Loco Cycle. This looks to be like a racing game, and it kind of reminiscent of the Tron bikes. If you ever watch those movies, it looks a lot like that. Again, a very quick, short trailer, not a whole lot on that, but you know, something interesting and at least something new. And after that, we had Matter, which this game just again, it was, you know, again, a really quick cinematic without giving us too much details. And again, all of this stuff's going to be linked down below, so you guys can go ahead and you know, get more detail about the things you're interested in. This game really kind of reminded me of Portal. That's what it looked like. That was the feel I was getting for it. You know, just kind of the atmosphere and just the very sleek look of it. Definitely kind of reminded me of Portal. You know, what else did they really have to their own? I mean, they showed Resident Evil 6 again. It looks really cool. There was one instance where they threw a grenade, and you could see all the zombies that kind of stopped, turned, and like gave closer examination to it. So they kind of interacted with it before they were actually blown to smithereens, which I thought was really interesting. But again, you know, that's not an exclusive title. They did do some Nike Sports Connect game, which I think is cool. I mean, I think all this stuff is cool, you know, as unpopular as that might be with most gamers. I don't have a problem with them making stuff for the mainstream. It's just they really should be, talking to gamers too in these conferences, because that's who's watching. But this looks cool. It doesn't look all that different from anything else we've seen with Kinect, though. It's like your Kinect becomes your personal trainer, and they kind of show you if you're doing the moves correctly. And the most interesting thing about all of this was the Matthew McConaughey impersonator that they got to show. The title off. I mean, really, it just looked too much like a clone of what we've seen in the past, and in my opinion, that doesn't belong on the E3 floor. We don't want to see something that we've already seen. And while I like the idea of, mixing games with other things, mixing it with staying fit, using it for other things, utility, things like that, at the end of the day, this is a game conference. You got to come and show us games, and that was the big problem with Microsoft. They really just didn't show up with games. So after we got our Nike fit on, Dance Central made a demo, and I thought that was going to be the case. Well, it wasn't even actually a game demo, though. See, that's kind of what bothers me. I would have rather have seen them play the game, but they just had Usher come out and do a dance, and that doesn't show off the game. I mean, yeah, Usher's a performer, and that's cool. Why don't you have him play the game, though? Why don't you have him play the dance that he did the choreography for the game? Don't have him just come out here and dance in front of us, because what does that have to do with the actual title? And I mean, that's just the story. I mean, they closed off with Black Ops 2. That game looks good. I don't think it looks all that different from other Call of Duty games. I've already written a feature on this. You can go ahead and check it out if you want to know more of what I'm talking about. But it doesn't look like a bad game. It looks like a solid game. It's going to be good. And they're going to get the exclusive DLC again, they announced, which doesn't surprise me that much. But again, you still can play these games on other systems, so nothing really new there for Microsoft. Overall, I think this is probably going to go down as the weakest conference, of all E3. And it's probably going to be the weakest one that Microsoft had in a long time. They played it safe, but I don't think it was that safe to play it this bland. I mean, I think a lot of people were bored and disappointed, and that's unfortunate, because I think this system has a lot to offer. I do like the Xbox Smart Glass idea. Maybe not as, a 40-minute presentation for an E3 conference, but we'll definitely have more of that in the future. So stay tuned.